So, good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so let's start our informal webinar of newly established network, Parliamentary Network United for Moldova. My name is Andrius Kubilius. I'm a member of European Parliament from Lithuania. And I would just to make short introduction what we are trying to do and why we have today such a honor also to speak with Prime Minister. Idea to create a network of parliamentarians, international network, global network, United for Moldova, came out from our experience with Ukraine, which, you know, when the war started last year, we decided to initiate a network United for Ukraine, network of parliamentarians and experts, and now we have more than 400 parliamentarians from all over the world, from European Union, from United States and other countries, and we are doing quite a lot of different activities, webinars, advocacy trips to big capitals, where we speak about the most important problems for Ukraine. And of course, those problems are connected with the war, with sanctions, and so on and so on. And that allows us to both to understand what is happening in the country, what are the challenges, what are the needs, and also to, after we understand what are the problems, using our network, we can bring some topics to our parliaments, both European Parliament and national parliaments. And as we see from our experience, really, it's quite helpful. Now, since we are really very much, you know, also love not only Ukraine, but Moldova, we saw that we can try to use this, you know, network on the Western side. All the friends of Ukraine who are really, as we know from our own experience, all of them are also very much, you know, friends of Moldova, that we can use this network trying to establish a special network for Moldova in order to assist Moldova people and of course government with what we can call visibility. How to bring, you know, issues of Moldova closer to the major debates in European Parliament and other capitals, and that is the purpose of our activity. So we are happy that today we are starting on a very high level of our, you know, webinars. We have the first speaker, Prime Minister of Moldova, Prime Minister Dorin Recean, and that really is a very good opportunity for us to announce about our network and really to start discussions about Moldova issues with the best speaker, you know, the best speaker, Prime Minister. And I will, you know, here I will stop my introduction. Really, we know, we see what Moldova is facing. Really, we want to help Moldova as much as it is possible. You know, you are struggling with all the hybrid threats from Russia, from Moscow. You know, issues of, you know, how to improve your energy security. Those are very important issues. And of course, we would like to see that Moldova will be successfully starting negotiations on you know, on your integration towards EU at the end of this year. And we are trying to push also quite an ambitious agenda for negotiations in order to achieve that both Moldova, Ukraine, and also Western Balkan countries would be able to join EU till the end of this decade. So those are our views. Now, Prime Minister will have possibility to speak, as we agreed. You know, his statement can be somewhere around of 15 minutes. Then we have two prominent experts, I would call so, our friends, politicians on Moldova, Zygmunt Muresan, member of European Parliament from Romania and chair of the delegation to EU Moldova Parliamentary Association Committee. And I know that Mihai Popsoi is joining us also. Mihai is Vice President of Moldovan Parliament. He is somewhere in the airport, but he will join us. And we expect both Siegfried and Mihai to make also their statements, their comments. Before I will give the floor to Prime Minister, just a logistical announcement that everybody who would like to ask questions, mainly perhaps to Prime Minister, should do it in a written form in the chat, Q&A chat. That is how we proceed with our webinars. And now, Prime Minister. Prime Minister, really, the floor goes to you. Thanks a lot for joining us. And yeah, please take the floor.
Mr. Kubilius, thank you very much, and thank you for this initiative. I would like also to greet Mr. Mureșan, our friend. Hello, Siegfried. And I would like to greet everyone else in our today's call, and to thank you and the other more than 400 parliamentarians that you were mentioning, Mr. Kubilius, for supporting this initiative. I'm very glad and thankful that you consider the two countries, Moldova and Ukraine. I couldn't miss this opportunity for all of us to thank Ukraine and Ukrainians for fighting this unjust war of Russia against Ukraine and Ukrainians. And Moldova now is peaceful and doesn't have a war due to the courage of Ukrainians, but also due to the support that the West is providing to Ukraine. We would like to encourage more of the support for the Ukraine because they are doing this important thing of ensuring peace and security in Moldova, peace and security in other countries in Europe, but not only, and fundamentally ensuring our common fight for the true democratic and the just values that our societies are based on. Moldova still needs to face the hybrid war that Russia is waging here, but this should not stop us and should not impede us on advancing on our strategic objective. And our strategic objective is to be part of the European family, be part of the European Union. President Sandu stated very clearly this ambition of ours, and this is the task of the government to act on it. We organize ourselves, our activities on 4 pillars in order to achieve these. First is obviously peace and security. And here the government acts in order to make sure that our institutions are ready to face any types of challenges. And as I said, the government now is challenged, the country is challenged by the hybrid attacks of Russia. And here you have everything, cyber attacks, you have false narratives, you have propaganda wars, you have false narratives that are enticing hatred among different social groups, including a hatred related to the refugees that we are hosting here in Moldova. They are trying to organize paid-for protests together with different attempts to destabilize. But as you may have noticed and witnessed, the government learned and increased its capacity to face these kinds of challenges. This ensures the stability necessary to move on the other 3 pillars. First and foremost is the economic development and recovery. This is very, very important for producing welfare for our citizens, but also to increase the productivity of the economy so that when Moldova becomes member of the European Union, it is a contributing member. Yes, at this initial stage, we need your support. We need the support from EU and individual member states, but also friendly countries like UK, United States, and others. But this will gradually increase the productivity in the economy of Moldova, and this will also create opportunities for the businesses from European Union to invest and to be profitable here. The other pillar is also related to economic development, but also to social development, and this is improving the infrastructure. This is about infrastructure of railroads, infrastructure of roads, integration infrastructure on bridges with Ukraine and with Romania into the European Union. We feel the responsibility to make sure that we are a contributing part in the solidarity lanes that ensure the logistical needs of Ukrainian goods so that they have a smooth transit through Moldova into Western markets and back. Please know that currently more than 15% of Ukrainian trade in cereals, but also supply of critical things like fuel is done through Moldova, particularly the port in Giurgiulești, but also our road infrastructure and railroad infrastructure. Together with the European Union, we are improving these solidarity lanes, making them enlarging their capacities. And we also need to improve the social infrastructure in our country, in the rural areas, but also in the urban areas. So, and the fourth pillar, and this is one which is fundamental for the long-term perspective of sustainability of the institutions that we are now reforming and adjusting to the European rules and legislation and regulations, and this is justice reform and fight against corruption. As I said, this pillar is fundamental for the long-term sustainability of the institutions that now we are, as I said, we adjust the legislation according to the EU standards, then we implement the legislation, but we are conscious that to build sustainable institutions, you have to have a rule of law. And this is why justice reform is critical for that matter. Resuming this, these pillars, this is how we organize the activities here in the government. These pillars and all these activities are meant for us to reach accession talks by the end of this year, and then moving forward in negotiations for EU accession starting next year. I would like also to present, once we are in the EPP family, please allow me to present to you also the political perspective of this of our endeavors, particularly by the end of the year to have the recommendation to start the accession talks. The political dimension here is the following: is that we not only next year we have presidential elections, and it's not only important for President Sandu to win those elections, but it's also very important for President Sandu to win big, to set the tone for the 2025 elections in the parliament. And for this, we need the political anchoring, the political support, and the political signal that the EU is moving forward on Moldova and Ukraine on the accession talks. And then when we enter accession talks, the pre-accession funds are available for a sustainable economic development in Moldova that will give a boost for the 2025 election. So Here is in short, and then I'll be more than happy to answer questions and to take questions from you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Prime Minister. Thanks a lot, really, very much. Maybe now I will ask Siegfried. Can you tell how Moldova, what we are doing in the European Parliament on Moldova issues?
With pleasure. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really nice to see you all. It's really nice to see Andrius, to see the Prime Minister, Dorin. Thank you very much for joining me. Hi, Popshoy. And I see we have about 30 colleagues from the Moldovan Parliament, from the European Parliament, and from national parliaments connected. And I think this is a good beginning. My first word is a word of thanks to Andrius Kubilius, because we are uniting today because of him. Andrius launched, immediately after the start of the illegal invasion of the Russian armed forces into Ukraine, he launched a network for Ukraine with colleagues from the European Parliament, from the Ukrainian Parliament, and from national parliaments. And with that network, he has managed to mobilize support for Ukraine, political support, measures on the ground, to discuss about needs on the economy, on security. It has proven to be very useful, and it was his idea that we do something similar for Moldova, and I think it's an excellent idea. I was happy to support it from the beginning. So on this note, Andrius, really thank you very much for the idea and for all your engagement on this. We have put together a so-called steering committee, and Andrius mentioned it. So colleagues who are ready to steer this, to invest more time. So with Andrius, with Petras Austrevicius from Lithuania, myself from the European Parliament, Ina Koșeru, Doina German, Mihai Popshoy from the Moldovan Parliament, and the three colleagues from the national parliaments representing all corners of Europe, Sweden, Spain, and Germany. And we're going to steer this, give life to this, and the scope is, firstly, to provide to colleagues in national parliaments and in the European Parliament a timely, immediate, and complete overview of the situation in the Republic of Moldova. So this is why the encouragement to you, Prime Minister, to ministers, to colleagues from the Moldovan Parliament, whenever you feel that there is a development in Moldova, that colleagues from national parliaments or the European Parliament should know, please point it to us. We are ready to always do meetings of this network. This online format allows us easily to meet immediately when the situation requires. Whenever there is a development, a worrying one or a positive one in Moldova that you believe deserves attention, please tell it to us. We are here amongst friends. We openly say that our scope is to support the European integration of the Republic of Moldova and to support the Republic of Moldova. So in that sense, also, Prime Minister, whenever there is help that needs to be mobilized, political, of economic nature, to tackle energy challenges, this is the scope of this network, to mobilize support, to advocate for it, colleagues from national parliaments, to advocate towards the governments of member states. So as well, let us know. Of course, the scope of this network is also to promote the good things that happen in the Republic of Moldova. And this brings me to the congratulations that I would like to extend to Dorin Recean as Prime Minister, because in the 4 months since he's in office, he has managed to, firstly, keep the country stable, secondly, tackle immediate challenges, and we all have immediate challenges to tackle, but in the Republic of Moldova, closer to the war, on energy security, on inflation, social, economically, the challenges are significant. So he has managed to keep the country stable, to tackle the challenges, to continue the reform agenda, and this is confirmed by the European Commission. And I believe also on communication, he has managed to gain the trust of the people of Moldova. The most recent, sociological data polls that I've seen confirm that basically 2/3 of the people of Moldova think like us, think in a pro-European way, believe that Europe is the solution, understand clearly, in spite of all of the Russian propaganda, understand all of the advantages of the European integration. So really, Dorin, on this note, I think you couldn't have done more, and congratulations and well done during the first 4 months in office. And I believe we have to speak up about this and promote it as well. I can also say that as a European Parliament, experience of last 2 years shows that whenever we have to make a decision about the Republic of Moldova, we make it fast, with big majority and in favor of the Republic of Moldova. And this is what we will continue to do. So be it on trade liberalization, be it on financial support, I mean, we were able to make decisions fast, big majorities, and in favor of the Republic of Moldova. I think specifically towards the autumn, we will be facing important moments, because it's now 1 year since the Republic of Moldova is officially an EU candidate country. And the Republic of Moldova has received then 9 recommendations, 9 reforms to implement, and the government is making decisive progress on the implementation of these reforms. And based on this progress, we believe, and we have a resolution of the Parliament adopted with a large majority, that as soon as these 9 reforms are being implemented, not later than the end of this year, then accession negotiations should start. And of course, there are chapters which are complicated, on which negotiations cannot start now. But there are chapters on which Moldova is ready, on which negotiations can start. And I believe we as a network should also advocate for the start of accession negotiations with the Republic of Moldova this year. We should also accompany the Republic of Moldova in its integration process, because, and this, I believe, is also a transfer of knowledge, of know-how that can be done from the national parliaments to Moldovan parliaments. So we know that the accession negotiations and the European integration process will fundamentally change the Republic of Moldova for the better in many areas. We've seen it in our Central European countries. Legislation will be changed. European standards, which are good for the people, will become reality in Moldova. So a lot of expertise will be needed, and here I believe our network can also serve. But particularly in the autumn, I believe that we will have to be very active. If Moldova has managed to make the progress on the reforms, it needs to move to the next step to start the accession talks. And I believe then we need to be very active towards the Council, towards the member states. One last thing, and then I'm done. The relation between the Republic of Moldova and the European Union is now closer than ever. The Republic of Moldova is a candidate country. The relation will become even closer, and this has to be reflected in the decision-making bodies of the European Union as well. I believe we should also together advocate towards the European Commission to increase its capacities for dealing with the Republic of Moldova. The European Commission has created a special directorate in its DG Neighborhood and Enlargement for Ukraine. We think that's correct. It's right. It's justified. Ukraine needs all of the support and assistance it can get. But we believe something similar needs to be created for the Republic of Moldova in the form of a unit. We don't ask for a big directorate like for Ukraine, but the Republic of Moldova shouldn't be dealt with countries which have a less strong relation with the European Union right now: Armenia, Azerbaijan, countries that are not yet candidate countries. The Republic of Moldova is a candidate country. It will need more support, including technical support, than a country which is not a candidate country. So I believe that this is why the resources for the Republic of Moldova have to be grouped in the Commission in the form of a unit, be it in the Directorate of the Western Balkans with other candidate countries, be it in the Directorate of Ukraine. But it has to be grouped together so that, you know, it also has a bigger capacity to influence decisions within the Commission. I think there's many things for us to do. We have together suggested, you know, as a steering committee, to focus on 7 priority topics. But of course, we can enlarge these, we can adapt these as times change. Of course, the EU integration process, tackling disinformation, hybrid threats will be a second one. Thirdly, energy security. Fourthly, the reform of the judiciary. 5, the financial support and assistance. 6, the economic development, and I know this is also a priority to the Prime Minister. And 7, supporting process of finding a political solution for Transnistria. If we can be of any support there, we have also put this on our list. So we have identified 6 main topics on which we should meet, do meetings, achieve results together. Thank you very much once again all for joining us. I think we're having a very good launch today with the Prime Minister. Looking forward to interventions also by colleagues and to our further work in the future. Thank you very much.
I see that Prime Minister wants to react, so. Yeah.
Yes, look, Secretary, thank you very much for your very generous and warm words of appreciation. I just shortly want to mention that the government worked together as a team with the parliament, and this team produced these results during the last months. But we also have been very generously assisted by you yourself. So thank you, and I'd like also to extend my thanks from the government to the parliament, with which we are a strong team together. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. Now, Mihai from the parliament, please tell the truth. How the parliament sees, the government.
Thank you, dear Andrews. Not quite from the parliament, from the airport of Iași, where due to a change of flight schedule, I find myself now. But I'd like to start by thanking, of course, Andrews for spearheading this effort. It's incredibly useful. It's exactly the right moment to put Moldova and to continue to maintain Moldova on the agenda. Together with our colleagues from the steering committee, with Siegfried and all the other colleagues, we look forward to making the most out of this platform, and we hope that we can continue to make regular events so that we can use this platform, United for Moldova, to inform as many people as possible about the developments in the country and about the steps that we are taking in order to start negotiations this year. And of course, special thanks to our guest of honor, the guest speaker today, Prime Minister Recean, who is working diligently to make this happen, because anchoring Moldova onto the European path is not only the strategic choice of the Moldovan people, it is the only choice that is feasible in the current reality. If there were people in the years back that were still looking towards the Kremlin as an alternative, now there is fewer and fewer of those people every day, particularly in light of what happened last week. You'd have to be irrational to link your hopes and the hopes of your children to the ephemeral space of post-Soviet or Russian world. These notions are becoming less and less appealing, if at all, in Moldova. So anchoring ourselves onto the European path is the key strategic objective for this year. And of course, we will work diligently together with our friends in the government and in the parliament and the presidency, and our good and wonderful friends in Brussels and in the European capitals to make sure that this happens this year, so that Moldova can once and for all never look back on its troubled past and look ahead and be ambitious about its future, because enough is enough about looking back at our troubled history and failing to move along and move forward. So thank you, dear colleagues, for supporting United for Moldova platform. Thank you, Mr. Kubilius, Mr. Mureșan, and all dear friends, Zygimantas. And special thanks to Prime Minister Recean and all his team in the cabinet. They have our full support. And we hope that this is the year that Moldova firmly anchors itself onto the European path. Thank you, dear friends.
Thanks a lot, Mihai. And so now, we finished what we can say, opening statements. We are going into Q&A session. So again, I would advise everybody who is participating, who is listening as participants of our discussion, to put your questions on chat. I have, first questions, maybe Prime Minister, if I may, to ask you, first of all, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on those 9 conditions. We know that Commission made an oral evaluation, oral statement, as we understand in general is positive. But of course, we hope that till the report, formal report on enlargement in October, you will manage really to meet all the conditions. But maybe some you can tell us some specifics where you see some biggest challenges, or where still there is a need of decisions, and maybe we can help or whatever. So can you elaborate a little bit more on those 9 conditions?
Thank you, Mr. Kubilius. The first and the most important thing is that we got a common understanding with the Commission, and then the Commission expressed clearly what is to be expected from Moldova within these 9 conditionalities. Because at the beginning there was a kind of how to say rapprochement in terms of what is exactly should be seen as a completed deliverable from the part of Moldova. Finally, we have it in clear right now. The biggest challenges are on 2 dimensions, as seen by Commission, and we are addressing them already. This is deliverables on the justice reform, and this means more sentences. This means more assets to be recovered from the fugitives that are now in London, Northern Cyprus, and Israel. So, and EU expects us not only to adjust the regulations to do the justice reform, but it wants also to see practical results. We already see them. Shore Party is out of the legal space, and the Constitutional Court, based on the work of the security, based on the work of authorities, but also of the prosecutors, decided for the Shore Party to be eliminated from the legal space. Now we have Shore sentenced. We are working hard right now to have him back to serve his sentence, and we are working on recovering the assets. We are also progressing on, for example, activities like taking back control of the airport and other legal challenges that the government has with different assets that have been defrauded before by Shor Plahotniuc and others. Obviously, it helps very much international sanctioning of these and other individuals. And we would like to thank EU also for addressing this issue. The other challenge that is seen from EU Commission, and which we are now addressing swiftly, this is capacity of the government to deliver. There is a progress in this sense. We will boost it again now that we are increasing the salaries throughout the government, so we will be more attractive for talent to come to work for the government. And the other challenge, which is again manageable, is related to the competition legislation and competition authority. And here we are strengthening the capabilities of the competition authority in order to tackle the existing problems, but also to consolidate the capacity of the institutions. Obviously, the thing that was related to the de-oligarchization, we transformed it together with the as a result of discussions with the Venice Commission, but then with the Commission, European Commission, we adjusted it into a deliverable plan that is tackling the issues in the Audiovisual Council, tackling the issues related to the state-owned companies and how they are properly managed and transparently managed, tackling the issues related to competition authorities, so that we do not allow for the potential misuse of finances and undue influence on the policies and on the politics. So these are the, as I said, the major things that Moldova should still concentrate on, and we are diligently and disciplinedly working to tackle these issues.
Well, thanks a lot. Maybe I will put another question. We remember very well from the very beginning of this parliament and government. Of course, you faced what we can call hybrid, warfare in energy area, with all those issues related with gas supply and electricity supplies from Tiraspol. So, how do you see that situation developing, and what are your plans? How to diminish the possibilities of Kremlin, to influence you through your dependency on energy supplies?
First of all, I would like for all of us to pay attention to the structural change through which Moldova went since the start of the Russian war and aggression in Ukraine. Back then, 100% of energy, whether electricity or gas, was supplied directly or indirectly by Russia. Now, Moldova does without Russian gas at all. We still have to use the electricity plant on the left side of Dnistru in Transnistria. We are doing this for not only for our economic reasons, but for the infrastructure reasons, that is ensure more resilience of the network of southwestern Ukraine and Moldova. We progressed in terms of us and Ukraine becoming parts of ENTSO-E on the electricity grids, but the rules of games are such that if there are disruptions in this part of the world, then we are disconnecting. So having this producer of electricity within this part of the network helps. So in terms of electricity, we will be 100% secure early 25 when we will complete the commissioning of the high voltage line that is coming from Vulcanești to Chișinău. And Moldova commercially is interconnected with the international markets on gas, but also with the European markets on electricity. So we still may witness disruptions if Russia and when Russia continues to bombard and to destroy Ukrainian electricity network. But we have the contingencies necessary to diminish the impact and to reduce the time of the potential blackouts. One more thing to add here is that last year, Moldova worked more on energy security. Since this year, we have to put more attention to energy economics. Because last year we have had to absorb this price shock of the both electricity and particularly gas. But now we have to focus on the economics of the electricity, and obviously the green transition, allocating more space for the renewables, both photovoltaic and wind energy, but very importantly for Moldova, biogas and renewables coming from renewable energy coming from biogas because of our agricultural sector. So this is the things that Moldova does in this sense. So we aim to move fast into the renewables. Into sustainable energy. We are also implementing a project on balancing storage capacity. We're doing this together and as sponsored by the US government. And this will be the first such project in the region, and that is encouraging to us that we are looking at this project as a balancing capacity, not only for Moldova in perspective, but also for the region, because it is right next, integrated into the grid that it's part of the NSOE, and then we can service part of Romania, Moldova, and southwestern Ukraine, which is and will be quite vulnerable in the future.
Well, thanks, Prime Minister. Really, Moldova is doing great, on moving forward, with energy security, as we see from outside looking, not knowing maybe all the details, but a little bit knowing how much, Moldova was dependent on all the supplies from Russia. Now you are much more safe, but still additional question on that issue. As I understand, in Transnistria, they are still having in some way, gas which they are not paying, or let's say paying very, very, very limited price. And Tiraspol electricity generation capacity is also using that, how to say, Kremlin, subsidy or whatever. How do you see that situation? What's what is next, and is that an instrument which you are worried that Kremlin can use in order to influence, or more or less, you are whatever, you have your strategy?
Look, this is the hottest potato that Russia can, throw at us. But we have our contingencies, and we also spoke about this and about these contingencies with the International Monetary Fund, but also with our other international financial institutions, and they will be ready to deploy the necessary means in order to absorb this economic problem once Russia, for example, decides to cuts the subsidy on the gas, or cuts the gas altogether. So what it practically means is that a number of businesses and individuals on the left bank either will lack the energy, or most probably will have to absorb this price shock of the energy. But for that, the government prepared its contingencies, and we worked out particularly with IMF, how they will react with an economics package in order to address the issue. Obviously, this will also require us to address help needs from European Union and individual member states, or other governments that are friendly to us, to ensure this transition. From the other side, we have to look also into an opportunity here, is that this will trigger more integration, more economic integration of the left bank into the right bank. From the economic point of view, it also means about a 50,000 capacity of the workforce that today is used not very productively, I mean, in an unproductive manner. Correspondingly, this workforce will be available for increasing the workforce available to the right bank of Moldova.
Okay, Prime Minister, and immediately we are switching to another, how to say, regional issue of Moldova. Jakob Hendenskog from Sweden is asking on the chat, how do you see the development in the Gagauz autonomous territorial unit?
We have to look at this problem. Actually, this is not a new problem. Is that we have a renewed manifestation of the same problem? Is the long-term failure for the last 30 years of the central authorities to integrate the minority, and correspondingly They looked only at Russian TV. They are exposed to heavy propaganda, but also there are fewer programs to integrate everyone into the larger Moldovan society. This is also a consequence of the perpetuated corruption, including in the justice sector, because those so-called elections have been won by a corrupt party that is now outlawed, and if the justice sector would have been reformed earlier, maybe a few years ago, we wouldn't have reached this situation. But we have to observe these democratic principles of elections, and the government will have to tackle this issue. But again, this is the same problem. It's just it is now exposed once again, and we have to do a better job at integrating cultural minorities, but also fighting propaganda, fighting false narratives throughout the country, but particularly in that region where they would speak and communicate among themselves rather in Russian than in their own language. So us emphasizing learning Gagauz language in their schools, in kindergarten, in their families, but also in the university, doing our job in terms of cleaning up the justice sector, making a more strategic communication effort. This is how we are addressing this problem already.
Good, thanks, Prime Minister. Maybe I would ask you some questions about let's say future. So what is now? It's more or less clear, but the question is about the future, and really we hope that Commission will make a positive report later in the autumn, and there will be a proposal to start negotiations, and we hope that Council will agree. We shall do our advocacy, really to push beginning of negotiations with Moldova and with Ukraine. And let's imagine that from the next year, beginning of next year, negotiations really will start. Where in the negotiations, in all the accession process, where do you see the biggest challenges for Moldova? I mean, which fields, which areas you see as some in some way demanding the most attention and or maybe some challenges for those sectors? What will be your priorities in the negotiations?
Look, we have to produce welfare here in Moldova, and we have to increase productivity of economic factors, both of human resources, but also infrastructural resources. I think our objective should be to reach for the next 7 years, 7 to 10 or 7 to double-digit economic growth, so that we reach as soon as possible the average GDP per capita. This is why my government is working hard right now on adjusting the legislation to the EU standards, but also very much debureaucratizing it. So our main focus should be on of course, economic development. Obviously, the justice sector needs still very much of the attention. The reforms here cannot go, too fast, unfortunately, because the justice reform needs to be done by the justices themselves. So we reached a point where we have the Supreme Council of Magistrates clean, means pre-vetted, but then there are other judges and prosecutors that need to undergo this cleaning, let's say, and screening exercise. And this will take about 2 to 3 years. But justice, law enforcement is very, very important, also for attracting foreign investors, also for attracting businesses. The other very important challenge that we are looking into is the perception of the risk, Moldova being right next to the war zone. Correspondingly, businesses are, how to say, either reconsidering their investment decision, or they are applying higher discount rates in their measurement of the future profitability of their projects. And obviously, this is not in favor of Moldova when you are very next to the war. Unfortunately, we have to admit that this aggression of Russia in Ukraine will continue for at least the next couple of years or even more. So again, considering that Moldova needs to strive to produce welfare for our citizens, and this is done through sustainably, through economic development, all these factors are real and serious challenges that we have to address. Obviously, there are solutions, for example, in terms of attracting more investment into a environment perceived as risky. Then you work out with the international financial institutions to provide specific financial instrument in order to ensure against a certain kind of war risk or politically perceived risk. So these are the kinds of major challenges that we are looking into. So focusing on economic development, adjusting the legislation and all market infrastructure, ensuring law enforcement, and attracting foreign direct investment. This is why pre-accession funds are very important as well, because you have an influx of investment and longer-term maturity investment money that is required by small and medium-sized companies, but also for larger companies that are using governmental sponsored infrastructure.
Well, Prime Minister, it sounds really very, very clear, and it's convincing that you have very clear, vision what's important and what you want to achieve. Sometimes I am saying to colleagues here in the European Parliament that it would be good that the European Union would have the same, ambition and vision for enlargement, for bringing such countries like Moldova, because that is very much needed not only for you but also for the whole European Union. And on the development and economical growth, I'm always trying to show both to our partners in the European Union and also maybe to in some accession countries to understand what does it mean integration towards EU and what kind of benefit it brings, And I remember very well, I was Prime Minister in Lithuania in 1999 at the end when we started negotiations, for our accession towards EU. At that time, our GDP per capita in so-called purchasing power parity, measurements was 36% of EU average. Now, the last year data is that we reached 92% of EU average. We are better than in Greece, and even coming closer to Spanish parameters. And, for us, most important that we overcame Estonia by 1%, our neighbor. That is our regional competition. But exactly, I looked into Eurostat data. Moldova now is 36%, the same as we have been, back in 1999. And so for you, integration towards EU really is very clearly what kind of benefit it will bring. And all the people should understand that, that European integration into single market is most important factor which really allows to create prosperity and success of the country. But that's a little bit of, how to say, propaganda to additional.
No, this is not, Mr. Gugulis, this is not propaganda. This is the real stuff.
Yeah, real. Well, I was saying positive propaganda. But then my question again, in how you, because again, our experience when we were going through negotiations, for example, our agricultural sector was very much afraid of integration towards EU. They were, you know, they were full of fears that, you know, being part of single market, it will kill all our farmers and so on and so on. At the end, now it appears that, you know, if to look into different sectors and who got the biggest benefit from our integration into EU, I would say really agriculture is number one. So my question would be, you know, how you see your sectors, you know, in going into negotiations, which will be, you know, how to say, not resisting but hesitating of integration, and you know, and what is your forecast, you know, where you will be asked to pay, you know, bigger attention?
Mr. Kubilius, first of all, thank you very much for your vision as well, because I am also a strong believer that a larger Europe means a stronger Europe and means a more prosperous Europe. It's true that negotiations won't be easy, and negotiations should allow for the companies to adjust to the new regulations and to adjust to the new rules of game. And obviously, this will boost, you know, some competition. We start by these asymmetric trade deals that already are in place between Moldova and EU, between, for example, Moldova and yesterday we have signed a free trade agreement with EFTA countries. What we need to do as government, but also as a society, is to be disciplined and to use this time frame where we have the asymmetric trade, particularly to target increased productivity in our sector, being that agriculture or other sectors. Obviously, there is this rigidity, and this is where people normally, how to say, spend their political capital, is to advocate for open economies, to advocate, and in the same time giving some time for the preparation of different industries. Obviously, agriculture is also your best candidate as for subsidies. Again, I understand that this will be a challenge. This is why already now myself, but also Deputy Prime Minister Bola, my agriculture ministry is emphasizing in our discussions with the farmer community that, look, we have to move into the industrialization of the agriculture. We have to reallocate, and we started the redesign and partially already achieved this, the redesign of the subsidy programs, so that we subsidize primarily high-value agriculture. This will ensure higher profitability and lower volatility of the financial performance of the farmers, and obviously will help us diminish from the pressure. Right now, we have this pressure. Until yesterday, we were having the farmers in the streets, you know, asking for governmental money, but we spent also this crisis in order to explain to the people that, look, guys, let's prepare our economy and our sectors for what is coming. But what is coming is a multiplication of the welfare for everyone around. And again, I will reconfirm that this is not easy, but this is something that is, you know, part of your job. You don't complain about it, you work out.
Yeah, so you can, you know, send your farmers, or you know, we can organize, you know, the trips to Lithuania to really, you know, they can see all that experience, or they should come, you know, here to Brussels, also always welcome. But, you know, in addition to that, we started to speak about negotiations and things like that. So you know, we are concerned here inside of European Union and also friends of enlargement, you know, into Eastern Partnership regions, into Moldova, into Ukraine, also Western Balkans. we are concerned about ability of European Union really to proceed with ambitious enlargement agenda. Because if you look since 1990s, there were two different enlargement styles. One was with us, with Baltic states and Central Europe, where negotiations took, for us it was 3 years of negotiations and 1 year for ratification. And we started in 1999 and we became members in 2004. But if you look, then after that, the first wave of 10 countries which joined EU, if you look into Western Balkans, some of them became candidates perhaps in 2003, 2004, and still no progress. Of course, there are people who are blaming those countries as they are not doing reforms. From my point, a little bit problems are also on the EU side. There are somebody who is saying, well, EU needs to make inside reforms with decision making and so on, with institutional reforms, and that that makes the whole process of negotiations very slow and without clear progress. There are proposals even which we discussed in the European Parliament and which are put into some of our resolutions, that in order to move out from this stagnation of enlargement, maybe we can look into enlargement process as consisting of 2 steps. And the first step, which will not demand from EU to change any kind of institutions, the first step would be your accession to single market. So-called 4 freedoms and so on. And then after that, going up to the full membership. My question would be very simple. Did you consider something of that, and what would be your opinion?
Look, there is a structural approach from my point of view to this. Look, we have 2 fundamental constraints for people feeling good about enlargement. First, this is security, and second is economics. So I would prefer to solve these problems and go for the fully fledged membership. And I know for sure that we can do it. Ukraine can do it. And this is the right time to help Moldova and to help Ukraine overcome these constraints. And both Moldova and Ukraine can be and will be valuable members of European Union. And I know that sometimes it's not easy for people elsewhere in Europe to overcome, as I said, these 2 major, let's say, as perceived constraints. This is economics, and this means how we share the money. And second is security, is how do we feel about long-term EU enlargement in terms of security, in terms of stability, in terms of the European architecture as a large, let's say, large continental, large, structure. So I'm very much in favor of tackling these 2 fundamental things, and then making sure that Moldova is a full member of EU.
Well, Prime Minister, absolutely. We are, your collaborators or your, supporters, and my vision is very simple. Negotiations should go as quickly as it was done with us. 3 or 4 years, 3 for Moldova. Moldova is a little bit smaller. Ukraine is bigger, so it can be 4 years. Yeah, and why I'm saying that? Because we consider that it would be good to conclude negotiations in 2027, when Lithuania will be 2nd time in the presidency of EU. So we are preparing.
Let's prepare for that, Mr.
Yeah. And then
we will do our job here to perform in terms of economy, and we are already quite advanced in performing in terms of security. And Ukraine is definitely defending all of us and ensuring peace and security for all of us already.
We shall try to push, also EU institutions to be ready for such kind of speedy negotiations. And then in 2029, you know, both Ukraine and Moldova will participate in European Parliament election. So, Prime Minister, thanks a lot. I see that you are, your statements were so convincing that, you know, there are no more questions. No, and thanks a lot for your time. I know how busy you are. So all the best to you, to your government, you know, and to Moldova. I don't know, Siegfried, you maybe would like to jump in with some kind of concluding words?
No. Just to really thank the Prime Minister, because really, Dorin, thank you for answering the questions, for discussing in detail with us. And please, whenever you feel that this platform, which unites members of European Parliament, Moldovan Parliament, national parliaments, can be of use, so whenever you feel that yourself or your ministers need to pass a message to us, please don't hesitate. We understand that the challenges which Moldova and the EU are facing are common, and we shall be united in addressing them. So really, also personally from my side, thank you for your engagement today. And please, let's make together good use of this network. Andreas, thank you for launching it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Prime Minister. Really very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate all your support, and please know that under President Sandu's leadership, we have a very good team here with the Parliament. Thank you.
We know. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.